That's us going live.
Oh.
When did you do that?
Who was that? Pros.
We're live. 6 o'clock.
Call this board meeting to order. Mr. Harris, if you would lead some prayer and pledge. Lord, we thank you for today, and God, I thank you for everything you've done for us. Lord, you allowed us to take some time last week to visit our schools, and what a great job that our teachers are doing and our students. And it was just great to see, and thank you for the fact that we have dedicated people in the school system that have the best of our students in mind. So thank you for that. Be with us tonight, that we will make decisions based on what you'd have us do, that everything we do will be for the betterment of our whole system. We thank you for all you've done. Forgive us where you failed. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our mission statement. Our mission is to empower all students to reach their highest level of achievement. Our vision is in partnership with the community. The Wayne County school system will be a progressive system where all students acquire the knowledge and skills to be productive, responsible, and successful citizens in a rapidly changing world. Our belief is that every person is worthy of respect. Every person has the right to learn and work in a safe, nurturing environment. Every child learns when actively involved in educational experiences that reflect the uniqueness of each student's abilities. Every child will be encouraged and supported to become a lifelong learner and preparing for a rapidly changing world. Everyone learns best when they are engaged participants in their learning. Literacy is the foundation of education, and family, school, and community are responsible for the growth, development, and the success of its students.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second. Move to second.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hipkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Have a motion to approve the minutes from February 5th, February 8th, February 9th, February 11th, and February 19th.
So move. So move.
Move to second.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hipkins?
Yes, ma'am.
We do have several. Pastor Moore.
Thank you for allowing me to come and speak before the board and our superintendent. I come to say thank you, board, for your process in selecting new superintendent and how transparent that you were as much as you could be and how you involved the community. That's something that I've seen that haven't been done since I've been coming to school board meetings. And I think that's a step in the right direction, and I applaud you for doing that. And I think others in the community applaud you for doing that. And we hope that you continue to do that and move in that direction, which is going to increase the trust that the community have in their elected officials. And finally, I'd just like to thank the superintendent for the job that you've done during your tenure, especially during this coronavirus period, for your leadership and how you brought us through it safely, even though we're still going through it, and you did a great job. And I just want to thank you for doing that, and I just pray Godspeed upon you, your family, whatever your future endeavors may be.
Thank you very much, appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We have some members of our student advisory board here. I don't know if they want to say anything, but I am going to introduce, I have the opportunity to work with these young individuals and have for quite some time. Two of them since they were freshmen and one came to be with us on last year. We have Mr. Luke Hendricks. He serves as our chair of our student advisory board. Mr. Luke, you just wave, stand up. Ms. Zoe Smith, she's our vice chair. And we have Ms. Cindy Wright. Y'all just give them a round of applause again. Items of business.
Yes, sir. Do we want to, take official meeting for Friday's call meeting?
Yes.
Take official meeting.
Motion to take official action for Friday's call meeting for children of the schools.
So move.
Move in second.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes, please.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McKinney?
Yes, ma'am.
I will say that was a good experience. Thank Coach Daniel for getting us around the county safely. It was quite an experience to see her behind the wheel and using her skills.
Ride with her.
It was. She did an outstanding job. Thank you for that. And I'll just say, by the time we got to our fifth school, I realized, Dr. Brinson, that your job must be hard if you try to do all 8 schools in a day, because I was pretty worn out.
We weren't quite as inquisitive at the end of the day as we were at the end. Ain't that fair, Bruce?
Yeah. It was a good day, it was positive. All right, next item is practice football fields. Got some questions about the practice football fields, exactly where they're going, and that sort of thing. And you might want to turn around if you can. I just want to point out to the board exactly what we're doing and the reason we're doing it. Not a lot of options, and let me orientate you a little bit. The high, and I'm gonna use this pointer. The high school is right over here. All right. New track facility, current practice fields are right over here in this area. These are the power lines, of course. This is the little road that goes next to the band field. The bus shop is right here. Excuse my crew riding, but I just want to make sure you understand. This is the little dirt road that goes by between the field house. These are the current field house, you know, our mobile units that they utilize. Bus shops right here. The ROTC course, you know, kind of runs down here around. This square here is that cell tower that we lease out area. We can't encroach in that, but it's pretty cut and dry. This red line, folks, in the survey, that's all wetland. Okay, from here, all of that on the other side. We can't go across that red line. So basically, you can see we're actually going to probably take up some of that current ditch that goes along the dirt road. But this is a full size football field that will fit right there. Now, you'll see they've already clear cut as far as the trees in this whole area. All right, even the trees that were behind the mobile units, all of those that's clear cut. So the actual fields will be right here, full football field. This field, we're not going to take up the trailer. So this field here will be a little short. It probably will be, you know, instead of 120 yards. You really don't need all of those end zones. They don't play a game, but it'll be a little short. It may only be 90 yards worth of football field. They'll have this transition area right in here. But as you can see, you're kind of landlocked, but it does fit. And there really weren't any other discussions about how to transition them, because again, you go into the wetlands, you can push the project back about a year. We've seen that a couple of 3 times in the last 10 years. So, and I'll just remind everyone too, with the new track and with Coach Ward's input with some of the field events, he kind of wanted to keep a lot of it right up here in the track area in the front of the field. This backfield that we currently have is pretty much still clear. It's not gonna have, any field event nets, standards, anything that's holding up anything. So that's also a practice field area. If we added back to the football ninth grade team and we had 120 kids and we needed to send the 40 player freshman team, they could certainly utilize that field. I think that's ample practice field area, but I just wanted to kind of show you questions about that.
Jay, I had some concerns, are you?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, as a board, I would like for it to take a little bit of time. I think that the time crunch is really, not that big of an issue because either way we go, these facilities are not gonna be ready by May for spring practice. So again, the earliest usage would be in the fall. But what I've, in my little bit of time on the board, what I've found is, a lot of times we make decisions, without thinking long-term. And that's probably a human trait, if you will. If everybody could see into the future, we would we would be a lot more efficient and do a lot of things better. But a couple of things to consider. We're gonna have 3 football teams, hopefully. We've got 4 soccer teams, JV girls, varsity girls, JV boys, varsity boys. So our need for practice fields is going to become more acute if our community grows, our school grows, and therefore our sports grow. So when I see that picture, Jay, you're exactly right. It will fit in there. But what I see happening, just like at JC Stadium, we used all the available space. And now, 40 years into the future, it's very difficult to renovate over there. So my suggestion to the board, but let's look at this and if we have to table it for a brief period of time, I would like to see us consider an option of putting the practice facility across Joey Williamson Road. We're pretty much landlocked with everything at the high school site. And I know there's some concern about children accessing, having to cross the highway to get there. But this practice facility will only be used after school is over. And most of the students have their own vehicles, and the ones that don't would probably ride to the practice facility with their teammates or friends. If we really do our homework and we plan this correctly, within the next 5 years, we have to decide as a board or the next board, what are we going to do with JC Stadium? Are we going to renovate the stadium, or are we going to relocate to our property across Joey Williamson Road? My suggestion would be that if we do want to consider this, or consider moving the practice fields over there, we do it in such a way that it can be incorporated into the new stadium in 5 or 7 years from now if we decided to build a new stadium there, or whoever the board is at that time. And obviously the field house or dressing facility, again, if we do our homework, could be incorporated into the new stadium design. So with that being said, I think we have the need for practice facilities, and I think that it's only going to increase the use of these facilities. So I'd like for us just to take a minute, step back, and let's make sure that we're spending the money wisely. Who knows, in the future, maybe we need another soccer field that would fit into that facility, and not be quite as shoehorned in there with only 1 versus 2. So I would like the board for us to just take a week or 2 and step back and look at it, and make the best decision we can for the children of our community and for the taxpayers as well. With that being said, there's probably some resources on that tract across Joey Williamson there. Maybe we could cut that timber go ahead and prepare the ground for the future as well in the event that we move our JC Stadium facility over there. Probably there's enough, I'm guessing might be enough revenue from timber sales to pretty much make this a break-even proposition. The existing field outs that we have now could easily be used by the track team as a dressing facility or storage facility for hurdles, whatever. But anyway, I would just request the board if we would just take a break, a little downtime. Let's do our homework and if indeed that we find that the facility, the proposition that we're entertaining now is the best way to go, we've only lost a month of time. So that would be my wishes or my suggestion. Thank you.
Well, I had suggested some time back, probably over 6 months ago, if not 7, when we were kind of discussing, we've discussed a strategic plan a couple of times. And one of the things that I was talking about within a strategic plan was us having someone to draw up, if y'all recall, plans in the event that we decided to move complexes over there. So it's not just the stadium that you're looking at. You know, my thing is I don't want us to go over there and just start randomly throwing fields in different places and not utilizing our space, you know, to the fullest and adequately like it should be. I feel like it should be something, I understand about being proactive. It should be something that is done proactively that is done professionally and strategically, rather than, like I said, just putting this facility here and putting this facility there. It's got to be planned out, or we'll end up with things, with not enough space for everything that we need.
Way back before we decided the track, if you'll remember, I actually wanted to put the track across the road over there, but I suggested then get a artist rendition of that property with everything we want on it placed on it way back then. Then people can see it and it would accomplish what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, was there ever a rendition done on of the high school with the football facility? Was it engineered in the beginning and then just cut out for cost, or do you recall? That's before your time too.
No, I don't think there was ever a mapped out plan. I mean, obviously the land was purchased for that purpose. As far as a plan and, you know, architectural plans we're talking about, and the layout, but no, there's not been one done in my knowledge.
But the reason and rationale, I think that we finally concluded for the track not going across the street was that it was going to be utilized during the course of the school day by your physical education classes, your ROTC classes, and you don't have to worry about those kids playing Frogger getting across the street to go through the mile run.
I know why we decided. Decided, but I'm just saying.
Right.
I had mentioned way back then to do an artist rendition of everything we want to put over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see if you got the space, you can see what it would look like and give the public something to look forward to down the road.
You know, I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead, bud.
We spent several meetings discussing this track project and this field house project. We spent a lot of meetings, and I'm talking about a lot. We had a lot of outside conversations with individuals such as Coach Ward and Coach Cribb to determine where this was. We did observations, we did cost analysis on all these different projects, and we're in the middle of this project starting now. We've hired a construction and manager to manage our project. It's just not feasible for us to just stop our projects and back up and go in a different direction. We have put aside money for this track. We've also added in the additional costs that it would be for this field house. And this design that Dr. Brinson is presenting to us came from Coach Cribb through all the way up to Dr. Brinson for that. It's, you know, we did the research with the company that came out and surveyed the land. We had our hopes up that this land was going to bring us so much money and it was going to be a break-even deal. And none of those things fell through. And so we chose to go this route. We're putting this track here, and we went to the taxpayers and said, these are the things that we're going to do with the money if we're given the opportunity to do the East Plaza. I don't want to see us stop a project and delay the other projects that we currently have. ROTC needs a home. The ag people need a home. We got other people who need homes outside of just the football culture and the soccer team. I just think that postponing this is going to delay all the other projects that are up in the wind, and we're locked into only a limited amount of money. I don't see us being able to take money from other things and use it. I know we got the CARES Act money, but that's money for safety and improving our technology and different things like that. I don't think we can necessarily just kind of, use some over here and use some over there. We've got projects started, and it's really kind of too late for us to back up with the construction people already beginning to work on this process.
Just, if I may, comment, delaying where we decide to put this practice facility should not have any impact on the track. The track, I mean, they've got their
No,
land.
but it's going to have an impact on the overall cost, Mr. Ray.
I understand that, but I haven't finished that. When that decision was made, I was under the impression that we had more land over there than what we do now. I was envisioning 2 football fields side by side. If you look at it, one of them, you're gonna lose 20 or 30 yards because of that trailer. The other one, the actual end zone of that field, well, if a guy run a pass pattern, he would run into the trailer. All I'm saying is, and from a financial perspective, there may be enough money in that timber to where we wouldn't have to reallocate any resources. I'm just saying, I know it's inconvenient, but the site looks a lot different with the timber cut off of it than it did when we were sitting in this room and we made a decision, yeah, that's a good place to put it. So, I understand what you're saying. Maybe to do research though, the only thing we would lose is a little bit of time. And time, I think that the time crunch is not as sensitive as it was because we're not going to be ready for spring practice even if we start tomorrow with those fields. So anyway, that's just my position. I'm a team player. If we as a group decide that that's not feasible, so be it.
Do you not think that those fields in the future might be able to be utilized by, say, even Martha Puckett or some other entity that may, within the school system that may need to utilize that field, those practice fields? And then, like you say, as we go on, we continue to look at when you build a football field or stadium, adding those practice fields.
One more thought. Could not some of this property here be used for a ag center or ROTC building? I'm just saying it may be of better value to us to keep this land available for students during the day that wouldn't have to cross Joey Williamson. That's why the track was not located over there, because we don't want students in first, second, or third, or fourth period trying to cross that road. I'm just wondering, could this space be utilized for an ROTC center or for a ag center? I'm just saying where we could keep our options open to whether if we did want to use facilities during the class periods during the day, they don't have to cross a major thoroughfare to get to those facilities.
Oh, we're talking about that.
I've sat and listened. I'm not trying to bust on any architect. The only thing concerns me is for them to do an architectural drawing. What are we looking at? 6 months? Who knows?
We don't have the work that we need
I
done.
really feel like all that on the other side of Joey Williamson is gonna be depending on the East Block. Don't you all? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
That's long range. That would be some strategic planning. I think we all want state-of-the-art facilities, but, and I'll just say, I feel like this board has tried to put more emphasis on our sports But I really, Mr. Davidson, I kind of like, this is already part of this track project, right? And so, when you're looking at 3 fields
Possibility.
for them to practice on,
Mhm.
I don't know, as much as I want to look at it, I just really feel like we need to move forward on this. And I went by it a while ago, they've already started a bunch of work and started on the track. And I just see that long range. So that's just my opinion.
And, I understand exactly what everybody's saying. I just think it would be I just think we're painting ourselves into a corner again. By trying to put too much infrastructure in a too small area. That's just my opinion. Like I say, I'm a board member first, and
Let me ask you this, if we delayed it a month, what are we going to get done in a month's time?
How much is the building?
And that's a problem. I understand that, but I don't know. Buckley doesn't have the best record on doing timely renditions or drawings or something. I know they're probably pretty busy and they got a lot of things on their plate. But again, when you look at what we have over there, it's a lot different than what I thought when we made this decision to go that way. We're going to have 2 practice fields, 2 double wides, 2 metal shelters, all in an area of probably about 5 acres. I'm just saying we're putting a lot of infrastructure in a small area.
And Mr. Ray had to talk to Coach Creel about this before we even decided this was his recommendation to Dr. Brinson. Again, that was a lot of conversation. I didn't attend any of those meetings, but when I asked him, was this what he wanted to do? This is what he said he wanted to do. And that's what I made a decision off of, supporting the people who were coaching these activities in sports.
Well, it seems that there's no appetite for reconsidering, so I'll just say, I'm okay with us going the route that we selected. I just thought now is the time if we were to take a different route, now is the time to do it before we spend any other money. But it seems that I'm the only one of that opinion, and that's not a problem.
No, I don't think it's that. I think Coach Creel, this was his recommendation, and we granted his wishes. And now we've already got money involved in all this.
Well, I think that his initial recommendation as well was until that timber was cut, you really couldn't tell what you were dealing with. You just see a tract of timber there, but when it's cut down, you really can see how cramped everything's going to be there. Anyway, I just thought, throw it out there and see what the board thought.
This is the first I'd seen of it, actually getting the fields in there, 2 fields, so.
Jay, there's not any wetland intrusion into the area where the 2 yellow fields are highlighted. I noticed when I was out there's some red ribbons right in the middle of that tract of land, that, I thought it was delineating wetlands. Although there was no water standing on it or anything, there was yellow ribbons right out in the middle of that property.
By the trailers right here, you see the wetlands, it dips up in there pretty close to the trailer. But the fields, no, that's
Okay,
that's two sides. So, but, yeah, going up to it and getting the full field, you get closer to that corner. They leave a buffer to make sure they don't get in it.
And just from my understanding, Dr. Brinson, that's been surveyed and,
Yes,
I mean, we're okay.
that's correct. And it's marked, I mean, for, it's hard to follow because you see it dips way up and then it goes right back out, all the way down. It's really, you would think some of this would be wetlands, but it is kind of wet. There'll be a lot of dirt brought in. To shoot a good grade, make sure it's draining properly.
would moving those two, mobile home facilities from their present location, that would, could we move them out between, the dirt road and the field house? Well, I understand the eyesore part of it, you
No,
know.
I don't know that there's enough room. Then you got, it's possible, they're mobile, they certainly can move. You know, you got the
Well,
water and sewer, and it's gonna be close. See, that's, all of that's two sides, that's two scales, so.
mhm. Certainly looks like it would fit in that area there, but again, we're getting into aesthetics, what does it look like, you know? But anyway, that's all I had on it. Thank you.
Just to talk of the, in that conversation on that, as we move into our strategic plan, we definitely want to, start, focusing on our facilities plan as well, because I've heard, you, Mr. Davidson, and Ms. Daniel, all of us have talked about what's gonna happen, for the new East Block and what's gonna happen when we start to focus on the safety. Right now, with the amount of money that we're spending on where we at with this track project, there was no money left for that, and Dr. Brinson made us aware of that as we were going through that process. So the facilities for, the future of athletics, that's definitely, something that needs to be put on the plan as, first order of business in the strategic plan.
All right, good? Yeah. All right, and I just wanted to mention that FY 22 discussion, that's fiscal year 22, as far as budget, just kind of let you know where we are beginning that. We're a little bit later, we kind of knew that going in. With transition to a new superintendent and a lot of other factors, with COVID-19 and some uncertainty about this legislative session in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, that is different. So I made you aware way back when we're looking at doing a spending resolution probably that we will not have the budget ready for approval by the June 30th deadline. It's a simple process. It just it'll be action from the board that just says we're going to extend it. Wait really to the state's budgets finalized and signed by the governor, where we know what we're talking about, dealing with for the next fiscal year. But Mr. Aldridge has already sent out what we call it, the needs list, the big ticket items at each school site, all different programs that it's just maybe too big for them to fund with the money they generate at the school level or program level. So we're gathering that, like school furniture, again, big ticket items, pieces of equipment. So that's coming in. We'll be ready to start those discussions, review it, first as far as personnel. Me and Ms. Dennis went around, we completed those visits today with all 8 schools, looking at class sizes. We don't, just a quick overview, we're not gonna add any teachers, not looking at adding any personnel overall to the school system. That's all driven by student enrollment, of course. I just remind the board, federal regulations, there's a new requirement for its comparability. It's called a RAMP, and that's acronym for something, I don't know what it is, but it is to ensure that all of our schools are equitable and comparable in regards to how many teachers they have, how many parapros they have, in regards to student enrollment. We made a decision a long time ago as the county and as the school boards, way before these, that we're gonna have small schools in Odom and Scriven. Scriven being, a very small school. Everybody's enrollment's down a little bit, but it's magnified even more when you already start off with smaller numbers, just over 200 students at Scriven Elementary, and Odom they dipped below 400. I think they're just above 400 now currently, but they've been, Odom Elementary's been up to 460 or more before, so that becomes a challenge, and it's not like we have a choice. It's not like the old days where we're just gonna pick up the tab. All right, that's not how it works anymore. And I'll just remind the board, we had an issue this year that we were able to correct kind of on the paper because, we may have had somebody coded as a support person that were a parapro, but we moved to fill a spot in the central office. Well, a secretary or front office support doesn't count as instructional support, so we're able to take that number off. Long story short, you have to get that right, or you're at danger of having to send federal money back to the federal government. That's not something we want to do. Okay, so we went through those 8 schools. We've kind of given our principals some direction as far as you need to move a teacher from this grade, cut it, but you need to add it maybe to this grade. There's a lot of that, but there are some net cuts across the system. Not many, maybe 3, 4 maybe at the most, which is a little surprising, because we are down overall maybe 300 or 400 students, so we're only really missing a couple teachers for that amount of students as a system. That's all related to class size. So that's where the big chunk of our money comes. It's all driven by student count, student enrollment. As you know, I'll just remind you, heading into this fiscal year, we were really concerned looking at dipping into fund equity, fund balance of $3.5, possibly $4 million. That's simply not going to be the case now with the CARES Act money that we received. Now we've exhausted our CARES 1 money. That's all gone. We're in our CARES 2 money. But again, we're trying to come up with a plan that enables us to go forward the next school year, and possibly even the next school year to make us whole. The governor, the amended budget's out. He has restored just what he said, about 60% of those austerity cuts from the beginning of the year have been restored. So that's that'll be back in our coffers to get through. So that further helps. So no need to worry about cuts or really trying to skinny up things. The challenge is to make sure, especially our elementary schools, that are comparable. We only have one high school. The 2 middle schools pretty much mirror each other anyway. So questions about budget. That will be picking up pace quick and in a hurry here in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
So you say we're losing 3 teaching positions?
3 overall consistent, 3 or 4.
So with the retirements and people leaving, right.
Let me clarify, that's where
Okay,
you're
yeah. Just wanted to make sure it's because, so that everybody knows nobody's losing a job. Okay, just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, right?
You'll see in personnel, we are moving forward with personnel. I think there might be 15 resignations for people retiring or leaving our system. So,
Right.
and that's always the case. Thank you for asking. Any other questions about budget? All right, the next item I have is the beginning of the 21-22 school year. It's time to start planning, obviously, for next school year. And I know that sounds a little crazy in February, but I just, in listening to other systems, legislators, people that are planning, even our healthcare professionals, I don't see hardly anything changing from what we're dealing with as far as the pandemic now compared to the beginning of next school year. I think it's wise to plan. If it turns out better, good for us. One big decision, and I just want to mention it, because of the challenges with virtual learning, especially with the younger ages. There are a lot of systems discussing, and some have already made that decision that they're not going to offer it. They're not going to offer a virtual option in their younger grade. Virtual learning, we were doing virtual learning with especially our high schoolers, but even our middle schoolers to a degree before all the pandemic stuff hit us last March. So that is something we're going to have to decide if we're going to do that. Again, you're looking at a year of going through this thing. Some kids still not have been to school since last March. That's the reality. And then there's valid concerns, in my opinion, about the learning loss for students that are not engaged especially at the younger ages, in in-person learning. So that's one thing. The other thing I'll mention is we got some information from the federal government, as it looks like, it appears they're not granting waivers for everything, kind of like they started out last March, where they were kind of waiving everything. They're not doing that this go around either, but there is going to be some flexibility as far as testing, the whole accountability piece for teachers, administrators, schools, and in the school system. There's a lot of discussion about resetting some of that stuff going forward. So that will be something we'll have to watch as the session continues to progress. That's something for discussion on what it looks like and how we're holding teachers and everyone accountable for what they're doing. We're still measuring our students' progress. We have a good system. Ms. Denny's led us through the last several years, and we're really making some strides formatively assessing our students throughout the school year, periodically. And our teachers want that. They want to know where their students are. So we're not scared of the accountability thing at all in our system, but we certainly want it to be fair. If the teacher doesn't have contact with the student, I don't know how accountable we should be holding that teacher for teaching the student. So that's the balance. Questions about that?
Jay, when would that decision have to be made,
What's that?
about offering virtual, into next year?
In my opinion, the sooner the better, because there's a tremendous amount of planning that needs to go forward. We certainly know what we've done since the beginning of school. Some good, some bad. It's like everything else we do with instruction. We know some things are working, some things are not. So we'll need to tweak it, improve it if we're going to do it. One other big part of that kind of going forward is how we're going to catch kids up. We have kids behind, regardless. They've been out. We're working hard on that. We're looking at what that looks like going into the summer. Talking about some robust summer school type services, and even some services now after school, during school. Again, it lends itself better to in-person learning. That if they're not with us, we're limited in what we can do. We're limited in having them engage with us, not in front of us. I know y'all understand that, but that's a real challenge. But we have to continue to plan and try to prove what we're doing like we always do.
You may have said this and I missed it. What is the percentage now of virtual compared to in school?
Virtual, 8% would be my
8.
Yes. We were about 20% or so, and about half of them come back at the semester, in the half year point. So I think we're under 10%.
Are we going to actually consider at any point in time, if we have to do virtual, or if we continue to offer the virtual, of a platform in which the teacher actually teaches those students rather than them logging on and watching a video and then having to come back later and contact the teacher to ask that teacher for questions, to have actual teachers actually teaching those students for dedicated period of time, and giving those students those instructions one-on-one.
It certainly can. It all comes down to where these teachers coming from and who's teaching the in-person students. I mean, they can't do both. I know you know that. But
Right,
it's
yeah.
not as easy as saying that and still having available staff to teach the other 90, 3% of students that you have in the school building. So it's all about the timing and the coordination of it. And it certainly can be considered and looked at. You may have to hire some additional people. Not a ton of teachers out there.
Well, is it a problem if a teacher, let's say a kindergarten teacher, I'm not kindergarten, whatever, elementary school teacher, I won't say kindergarten, elementary school teacher, is an individual who prefers to teach, virtually.
Sure.
Is there a problem with, let's say a student goes to student goes to Jessup Elementary, another one may go to Martha Ross Smith, and so on. But that teacher is responsible for that particular group of students and teaching that particular group of students because they're, am I right, elementary certified to teach
correct.
all subjects? Or if you had maybe 4 teachers that could split up, that thing, but they have a dedicated schedule and dedicated time to actually teach those kids.
Our elementary children
They do
are being
that.
served right. Our elementary children are not on a program like Edgenuity. That is a middle and high school. program.
Right.
Our elementary children have been served by a teacher that's engaging with them on the computer. since
Okay.
August.
So it's mainly the middle and high school that
High school are the only ones
that are doing that. So maybe those are the ones that I'm pretty much, referring to. And I've heard good things about the elementary school program. I've got some friends who, in fact, one of my neighbors' kid was on it, and they were fine with that. But I think that's a lot of the problem, or a lot of the complaint is that some of the kids are having issues because they're not interacting with a one-on-one, a live teacher.
I can see that.
Just a question.
Yeah, I know, I can see it. It comes down to staffing, it comes down to
Right.
staffing and what you're gonna do, because if you got, especially at the high school level, you're looking at we think about all the courses we offer and all the individual needs of the students, talking about 9 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
You got 7-8% of those students in one class. It gets tough to fill out.
To fill out that, right.
Fill it out unless you're just gonna hire somebody that really has the staffing stuff. That's the challenge.
Okay.
I understand that, yeah, you're right. I mean, some kids, they need that face to face, so it's a challenge to do it virtually all that time.
Okay.
Any other questions? And we've talked a lot about strategic planning, and I've asked Dr. Gordon kind of give us a rundown. And what she's gonna go over is our district improvement plan process, our CNA, which is comprehensive needs assessment. This is something and this is really the nucleus of everything that we do. This is part of your strategic plan. This is something we do every year now, and as part of the strategic plan, the only thing that's missing out of this for a strategic plan is some things we discussed earlier today, as far as facilities, planning for the next East Block, big overarching goals as a system, what we're trying to do and trying to promote as a system. But I wanted to make sure she went over this, because this is a process we go through every year. We're getting ready to have a stakeholder meeting that we want to invite you to. But Dr. Gordon, you want to take from here?
One thing I was thinking about too, is we were talking about that, when we started this process, we did look at it as a spring process. And one of our goals has been in the last couple of years is to use the model that the state has provided, and that's to make it a continuous process. We used to put all our eggs in one basket, look at data in a hurry in the spring, and then try to figure out what we were going to do for the next year as far as goals were concerned. And so now we have it broken up, where each quarter or every month, we have a step in the process that we try to review and look at. But we'll start with this graphic first, and that was one that came about from the Department of Ed about 5 years ago. And one of the main things that we try to address as we look at our district improvement plan and as we look at the needs that we have in the system is looking at the whole child. And anybody at the central office or at the school level, heard about that. And I thought the night looking at this, my gosh, we did not know how timely this was. Because 4 years ago, when we were faced with looking at supportive learning environment and the crucial piece of family and community engagement, it was easy to kind of still to push that to the side sometimes and say, but what's going on in the classroom is the most important thing. And it is of utmost importance. But what's happening with that child outside of the school day, on the playground, in the lunchroom, at the soccer field is also important, is of utmost importance. So we have, I would say that that's one of the main things I would say we're proud of, is really addressing some issues surrounding the child, which is social and emotional health. You've heard a lot about that. Behavior. I'm going to be honest with you. We've had to address behavior because a lot of the behaviors that we're getting in the schools is not what I dealt with 36 years ago when I started teaching. So we have had to address different issues associated with the child to address the child so that they can learn in the classroom where we provide the instruction. So again, this graphic is from the Department of Ed, but it's one that we put in front of ourselves each and every day to try to remind us that we can have the best classroom teachers in the world, but if we're not taking care of the child in different aspects, that they're probably not going to learn, no matter how good that teacher may be. So, so we've had to address a lot of issues in the last couple of years that are new to our system. The next slide is basically the process that we use. Now, the only thing about the Department of Ed, they put out this process for us and tell us the 5 steps, but it's really up to us to draft and craft how those steps are going to be implemented in our school system. And we have done a lot of work on that in the last 4 years. I've got a portfolio. I'll be glad to show you anytime. But we really have learned better how to look at data, how to summarize data, how to try to look at what that data is telling us about our strengths and our challenges. And we do try to look at our strengths too. Even though our federal programs call for a district improvement plan, we still like to celebrate our successes, and that's part of this process as well. But as you can see, one part of it is after you analyze the data, really determining your root causes. And we have all that in our comprehensive needs assessment. 3 years ago, what we felt like that our main issues were. And then from there, we established SMART goals. We actually have one with literacy ELA. We have one in math. And actually, 2 years ago, and it was not my epiphany at all. I think I'll give Dr. Brent some credit for that one. But that we needed a goal for climate and culture. And therein is kind of where Leader in Me and some of those ideas and initiatives began. That we needed a conducive learning environment for all children. We needed an environment that that children from diverse backgrounds could feel as safe and appreciated as all kids. So that's been part of our plan is equity. We've looked at that. We've looked at a lot of data on equity, and again, some of the decisions that we've made, and some of the action steps we have. When you read it, you'll be able to read that thread through it. And then the last part is monitor and adjust the plan. That's been my elevator speech is over. I like to talk about this, but what we also have done the last few years that maybe we feel like we've gotten better at is measure what we're doing. Everybody talks about monitoring and measuring, but it's a lot more difficult than what it seems. And so when we talk about M&M, we're talking about having a plan so that we know that what we say is going to happen, that it's happening. And also, how is that actually affecting the student achievement of our kids? If we bring a behavior specialist in and she works with kids, is that child really affected positively when it comes down to academic achievement? So again, Elevator speech, might have gone over a little 3 minutes, I'm not sure. But, we'd like to invite you to what we're doing, and we have a stakeholder meeting you can see on the screen on March 16th. You can rotate through our sessions and help us make decisions for next year. We'd love to have you.
I'll send out a reminder, see if you can make it, if it's all of you, great, we probably want to make that call me, because it is our work, but, I'll send that information. And I also want to just mention, Dr. Gordon, we know what kind of strides we've made since she's come on board as our federal programs director. But I mean, there's about a 60-page document that's on our website that incorporates all of this work and all of these meetings and things that we do as a system. And it's on our website.
I did mention
Check
that.
it out,
Yes,
so.
you can find it. We have school improvement plans and district.
You know,
Again, there's a lot more we could tell you, but go in there, read them, look at them, ask questions. There's a lot to them and a lot we have to put in. This, by the way, we have to do for federal programs, and we have to show too that we have a comprehensive plan in order to get our money every year. So you don't just do a budget and send it in. Every penny we spend has to be aligned to our plan, to our action plan.
it's all about trying to be more effective and efficient. I don't think any of our folks will get any harder when they're doing it at the school level, at the office level. But we can always be more effective and efficient in what we're doing and the money that we're spending. So that's the work. Question?
So just a question to make sure, because I heard you say something about it, because I put it on my calendar, but if three of us show up to this meeting.
I just need to know, we can announce it as a meeting. I mean, that's just for transparency purposes. I mean, the litmus test on a meeting is more than, two board members discussing school business. I think it's, in my opinion, to be advertised, so. But I'll get with you if we got more than three. I'd love to have all five of you, but I know that's a tough time of the day, so.
We have dinner for you.
Yeah, we're gonna eat. All right?
I just picked up attendance, didn't it?
Yeah.
That increases attendance
Every
for the
time.
board. That increases attendance for the board.
The Baptist in the room said they'll be there.
All right, Mr. Chairman, last item I have is just the COVID-19 report, and good news is things have continued to track down. I was excited yesterday in the county, I'm talking about the county, as far as what's reported on the DPH website, not Jay Brunson's website, the DPH website, in Wayne County as a whole, we had 0 cases. All right, today we had 3, and that's the trend. In the last 7 days, we've had two cases, 3 cases, 6 cases, 8 cases, 4 cases. We jumped all the way up to 10 cases. Then we had 0 and 3. So that's a pretty good trend. Again, that's countywide, not the school system, county. Got that right off that website. Anybody in the whole county can read. And of course, Dr. Burgess's last week report that ends on Friday. So here we are Tuesday. So we're 4 days into this week. But last week, we had 8 positive cases of students and 5 employees that were positive. That's not bad. Over 5,000 students and 840 employees, 13. So we still need to keep doing what we're doing, and we certainly can improve it. We need to keep the mask up, and keep our distance, and keep washing those hands. But we'll continue to fight and fight. Question for me on that?
Question,
Yes.
you mentioned the mask, but I have to say I was impressed. When we first talked about having students wear masks, I can't tell you how many times I said, how in the world is a kindergarten teacher going to keep a mask on a child? But buddy, they are.
Yes. I agree.
Those young kids are doing excellent.
They're doing better.
They're all
than
doing
older kids.
excellent, but they're doing better than the older kids.
They do better than the adults, actually. My opinion, so. They've done great. I can't commend the teachers and the students. They're just second nature now. We just need to continue the efforts.
Jay, those numbers that we have in the schoolhouse, will they also be tallied on the health page where you got your information of 0 today?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
That's all, it's all the
that was
same.
probably a lot of that, like the one week you commented, we had 10 on the website. Probably some of those were our folks, right?
Yes, sir. Everyone in the school system, you know, is a Wayne County resident.
And
So
they get
They count in
included.
that overall DPH numbers on the website. State of Georgia, yes,
Well,
sir.
that would make sense. I was just concerned why the difference between us having, you know, and I understand that the numbers are lagging, if you will.
Yeah, that's for a week now. I mean, I was talking out days. My numbers I was talking out was days
Okay.
total for the county. And that 8 and 5 number was for a whole week, was for 7 days. I'll have,
All right, we'll move into executive session, discuss the deliberate appointment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation of regular public officer, or interview applicants for position of superintendent. Have a motion for executive session.
Second.
Second?
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tiffany?
Yes, ma'am.